Brenton, what are you doing so fat there, buddy?
Well, Nathan, I was trying to get into the spirit of this episode, and I thought I'd go big.
What?
Guys, welcome to Classic Movie Banter. You know that show where me, that guy Brenton, and that other guy, that other voice you're hearing it, not right now, but you will hear eventually, is Nathan.
Hello.
And there he is. Oh,
There's
there he is.
There's the voice.
Gosh,
Quick, grab it.
Shock
but you
horror.
can't.
We're here to talk to you guys about movies that are 20 years or older.
Yeah.
20 years!
20 years.
That makes them classics, I guess, and that's why the show is
I
called Classic
suppose,
Movie
like-
Banter. Well, that's why the show's called Classic Movie Banter, because we talk about classic movies and we throw in some banter in there for good measure. But specifically when we're talking about these films, we talk about whether they're still worth your time or whether they are worth putting in a time machine, sending it back in time to the age of the dinosaurs, specifically the end of the Jurassic period, right before that big fucking meteor hit the Earth.
And put it
And just,
right
like-
where it's about to land.
And
Like,
just no, not even, just like kind of like maybe like 100 kilometers like outside of that, so like, you know, it still gets fucked up, but like it sees
it turns
the
into the
destruction
fridge
happen.
from Indiana Jones 4. It's just like flying out from the nuke. like-
Yeah, I want it to know that, you know, its destruction is coming before it comes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want it to look at that meteor and go, the world is about to end, and I'm here for some reason.
I want to see those dinosaur faces when like the meteor was about to hit, and they're just like, "Well, we're fucked, aren't we?" Like,
Well, you know what's interesting about dinosaurs is that like more and more experts are saying that dinosaurs were like big birds. You know that like
yeah, I do love that.
They weren't lizards, and like so like can you imagine just like your cockatoo or whatever just like chilling, and then a meteor hits, and like how a cockatoo would react. Maybe that's how the T-Rex.
It's like a flustered chicken. It's like just like running in circles like, as the meteor hits. Like.
By the way, speaking of chickens, it's like they probably wouldn't react though. It'd be like that. Have you heard the Marlon Brando acting story? Have I told you this story before?
No.
Marlon Brando was doing an acting class. This is a true story.
Okay.
Back in the day, and
He took the one class. So.
yeah. And he was, you know, they were doing this class, and I think they were doing some animal work. And anyway, the teacher gave them some improvisation to do, and she said, "Now, I want you to imagine that a nuclear bomb has just gone off, and you're in the radius, but you're a chicken. Play that scene like as a chicken, like how a chicken reacts to it." And so the whole class starts like being chickens and starts like losing their shit as chickens and being like, "Bah, bah, bah, bah," and running around like crazy, like freaking out the world's ending or whatever.
Okay.
And Marlon Brando was just like in the corner, like pecking at some fucking seeds. And the teacher was like, what the?
I wish I could see this tape.
And the teacher's like, Marlon, what the fuck are you doing? And then he was like, well, a chicken doesn't know what a nuclear bomb is. Like, I don't know what the... So yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah, it's true. It's true. Maybe that's what put him. You know, that's what sets him
That's what
aside
got him the
from
big
like,
bucks. You know, like.
yeah, exactly. That's what not only made him a good actor, that's what made him a great actor. You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness. Was it Rocky where there was that scene where like Sylvester Stallone has to chase the chicken?
Yeah, dude.
Could you imagine instead of a chicken, it's like Marlon Brando just plucking at some seeds? And Sylvester Stallone just has to chase him around the circle? Fuck, that'd be incredible.
Well, Nathan, now that we've done that lovely intro,
Yes.
let's start. Let's introduce the film we're going to be talking about this week, and we kind of alluded into like terror.
Wild Wild West, we're doing it again.
Oh, take two. Here we go. Nothing's changed. Let's just gush about this film some more.
right.
Nathan, no, we're here to talk about a film from 1988.
1988? Wow. That's hopefully older than 20 years, Brenton. Is it the movie Big? Is it Tom Hanks's Big?
It is, and I'll get this out of the way now, so we never have to repeat this shitty joke again.
Okay.
That's what she said.
Tom Hanks is big, isn't he? But Brenton, I don't know anything about Big. I've actually never seen this movie before. So can you please...
Oh, shit. Well, we better postpone the episode
Oh,
then, buddy.
no. I'm actually watching it as we do it. Like, I will do that one episode just to fuck with you, just to see what happens. Like...
I'm telling you, man, we should do some commentaries. We should sit down, watch like Wild Bob West and do a live commentary over it.
That'd be great. And he's big now. There he goes. Oh, he's still big. Oh, is he small? Nope, he's big. But Brenton, can you please pitch me this movie?
All right. Big is a film that I'm pitching to you.
Yes.
And the reason I'm pitching this film to you is that I want you to imagine...
the idea of Big?
No, just set your mind back, you know, when you were 13 years old, you know, you just become a teenager.
What, last year?
And the world... yeah. Oh,
no.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be hard for you. Yeah, you'd better get that short-term memory going, buddy. No, it's... you're back then, and the world is kind of like your oyster, and but at the same time, there's a lot of drama happening. Like
So much.
You've realized that there is an opposite sex to yourself, or there is a sex that you are attracted to, and you realize that there's those butterfly feelings are starting to come up. You've got your friendship circle as well, and there's dramas there because how do you balance
We've all been there, buddy.
your co-curricular activities with like your friends and whatnot, and your friends.
Brendan's actually having like a post-teenage mental crisis right now. It's like, how do you do it?
And you got your family that are like, like your family's the most important thing, but really, like, you're invested in your friends and what's going on. And at the same time, school's getting a lot fucking harder, and you got to like study more and shit.
So what's the solution to all this, Brenton?
Well, Nathan, you go to a circus, you go to a fair, I should say, and you find this fucking machine that's got this weird fortune teller, like one of those fortune teller machines. Have you seen these things? I've seen one of them before in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Like a fortune teller, like arcade cabinet, and you put a quarter in, or in our case, you put 25 cents in.
Yeah,
and,
you put a platypus on a coin, you chuck it in.
Yeah. And you make a wish to this fortune teller, and maybe things just haven't gone your way, and you haven't been able to get on the. I was about to make a bad joke. That's bad. No, maybe things haven't gone your way, and you haven't been able to get on the DC villains roller coaster at Movie World because you're too short.
Oh,
You're a little 13-year-old, and like the hormones haven't kicked in, and so like you've come home and you're gone. You know what? I need to go to that fortune teller, and I need to put in my 25 cents, and I need to wish to not be older.
Yes.
To be big.
That's a pretty ambiguous wish, Brenton. A lot of things could happen by simply saying I want to be big.
Imagine a film about this premise, and then...
Is it like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but the opposite? Where the child continually just gets big?
No, Nathan, it's not that at all.
Oh.
Imagine that the next day your wish was granted, and suddenly you were Tom Hanks.
Why not just wish to be Tom Hanks? That sounds like a much better gig, rather than just be big.
No, you're Tom Hanks playing a 13-year-old. That's who you are.
Oh, okay. And
Nathan, don't ask any more questions. just let the circumstances ensue.
Okay,
is what I'd say. You know what I'm saying?
So what? This movie? What? So is this pitch, Brenton? Just you trying to tell me you wish you were big?
That's what she said. Anyway, so Nathan, this film, it's not a horror movie, is what I'll say as well.
Because it could be with the sound.
It could be a horror
pitch.
film.
Yeah,
it's not a horror film. It's a nostalgic comedy, I'd say, or almost dramedy. That
a little bit of dramedy right there.
That has some romantic elements involved as well.
Oh, okay. I guess we'll get into that. All right, sure. Who doesn't want to see a 13-year-old become a 30-year-old? 13 going on 30. Who doesn't want to see that? So here's some money, and hopefully in the year 1998, which we are in, it will make some money.
1988, but we won't focus on that. That's okay.
No, we won't. And also, I don't know how you as a child got into my office, but please leave. And also, where are your parents? Oh no! Now I'm big.
Nathan, what do you think of this film?
It's a pretty jolly movie, isn't it, Brenton? It's like a bloody dessert. It's like you've just eaten a big old cake and you feel very full on the inside, don't you?
But Nathan, do you like the cake? That's the question.
Do I like it? It's a bit outlandish, isn't it? Like, it's a sweet movie, and it's very like sweet, like 80s like family film. It's fine, I think it's okay. What do you think? Brenton?
I think this film is great.
Of course you fucking do. I think
this film is...
I can see the drool out the corner of your mouth, buddy.
I really, really got around this. I thought it was wonderful.
It's the movie you needed on a Saturday.
Nathan, this isn't going to set any records for like the best screenplay ever written, the best film even necessarily, or the best direction. But that's it. It doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
And I feel like what's here is moving to a sense, is far more complicated and deeper than, the premise, I think, like, first seems.
Did Brendan say it's complicated? Oh.
I think it is. I think And I think a lot of
He's like holding up charts and everything as he's saying it. Like,
I think a lot of that is to do with the honesty and the truthfulness of Tom Hanks' performance in this. I think
yeah, he's pretty good, isn't he?
He's pretty fucking good. Like for a film that like could have just been Zac Efron, you know, with like who was a young Matthew
Excuse me.
Perry or
Now
something.
that is an excellent film, Brenton. What is it, like 17 Again? Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
That's an amazing movie. I love that movie. It's probably shit, but I loved it as a kid.
I think this is better, and I'll tell you
It is
why.
better. I will give it that.
This film has the balls to like take its characters and to do things with them. Like obviously, like a young child that becomes a adult, there is going to be certain elements that are dramatic in the sense of like, what could possibly happen that could make this situation go horribly wrong? You know what I mean? In terms of like, what relationships is this kid going to build in this adult body? What professional relationships, what personal relationships, the relationships he has, how are they going to, pan out? And I feel like the film's pretty honest and goes to places that I don't think a lot of other films nowadays would probably have the balls to do, such as...
Yeah. And I think they don't have the balls to do it, Brenton, because it's probably a smart decision.
Probably is, but I'm glad that this film does it because it means that there's like moments in this that are
Where you're going,
genuinely
ugh.
quite... That are quite adult and are quite moving as well, and you get to explore kind of relationships and to.
It's a bit cliche, though, isn't it? Like,
yeah, no, I will admit that, but at the same time, at least it executes that cliche and gives us something that is powerful, I think, in the sense of like how it's executed, and that I'm glad that it takes this kind of simple premise and really executes it well, so that like you get that choice. Of like what the storyline is and what happens in the storyline, but man, it's just executed really well, and so because of that,
yeah, but the lessons it's trying to impart, Brenton, like did you? I don't know. Didn't you think it was a little bit simplistic? Like how it was just like saying, oh God, childhood's great. Maybe the adult word, oh, it's all pretty boring. Like, like.
Well, my next point was going to be, I think what this film really succeeds in is creating those parallels between like the children and the adults. So, and then like trying to kind of blur those lines and then like show where those lines are a bit more defined.
But don't you think the movie would have been better if they did that in subtext rather than like the obvious metaphor?
Well. What do you mean? As in like the obvious metaphor?
Like, I don't want to say what happens when he becomes big because I guess that's kind of spoiler territory. But like, I don't know. Like the lessons he learns, you could kind of immediately get without seeing this movie. You know what I mean? Like as an adult, like watching this, you're aware of like, oh, being a kid's great because you get to play and all that kind of stuff. And like, I don't know. I didn't find the film believable, frankly. I think that's a big hole in it, Brenton. It's leaking. It's bloody sinking, I'll tell you what.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, like, the premise is pretty outlandish and, stupid. And I will admit, probably, like, there's moments in it that I'm like, is Tom Hanks going a bit too far in terms of, like, the believability of this, like, persona and this character?
Were you scared he was going to Forrest Gump it?
What do you mean?
I don't know, just, like, maybe... talk a little bit too simplistically or like a little bit like act too childy, like.
No, it was more so the fact that like maybe he was acting a bit too young for like the 13-year-old.
Ah, okay. It's like 13-year-olds swear. It's like they're like the kids from Stranger Things, that's 13.
I remember like being 13, year 7, like.
Oh, I remember that little shit, Brenton. Like.
But I think that was like I was having this concern like in a few scenes. I was like, oh, is this like too much from Tom? And then I kind of thought, there's still this kind of lovely kind of like nuance to it in the sense of like what he brings to that role and what he brings to that character and how he approaches these situations and then in terms of the believability of like other characters looking at this guy, I think it's a genius decision to choose like his profession and like kind of like where he hangs out.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me.
Although I do think it's a little bit serendipitous, like the way he just like has this amazing life as an adult. I think the movie doesn't show a lot of shit things that happened when he was an adult. Like it's very biased into like why he gets swept up in the adult life, which is why he doesn't immediately come back as a child,
Totally, but...
Like, there's a lot of shit he would have realized as an adult, like, fuck, this sucks.
I think the thing that it decides to focus on this film, not in terms of, like, things that suck, but I think this film... shows, kind of an ugly side of like this scenario in terms of and an adult side of this scenario of like this what if scenario kind of taking it to the next level in terms of his personal relationships. And when we're in that, there's some scenes that are like deeply uncomfortable when you were thinking about it.
Yeah.
And as an audience member, I was really drawn into this, like drawn into the kind of, because at first I was actually really I can't talk about this without spoiling it. Let's just say that in aspects of this film, I was really drawn to one side of the argument, but then I was finding myself going the other way in the argument, and then I was kind of caught in between the argument and thinking what was morally right in the situation and what was wrong, which I think was clear, but then it wasn't that clear because I think the film really executed on those relationships and those situations and made you care about either side of them, and so you understood why the characters did the things that they did.
Yeah.
And I think what's really great is as well, well, it's not necessarily great. I think it's interesting that the film, in terms of where it goes at the end, I kind of was like, maybe there's a criticism in the sense of like that it kind of wraps up like a bit too neatly in terms of like...
The movie's a little bit too clean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yes and no. Again, yes and no, but I think there's a clean elements in the sense of like how the plot kind of wraps up in the sense of I'm going to backpedal on this situation, and there's something drawing me back to another side of the argument that, like you said before, because things were set up that they were so great in the other sense of like, why would you go back? But again, it was justified. It made sense why, because, you know, at the end of the day, this is a 13-year-old that still at the same time longs for like, you know, at the end of the day, like longs for like that discipline of like
before he becomes big, he doesn't want to be an adult. It's a complete freak accident.
I know. And
it's not like as a child. This is the weirdest thing. It's like as a child when we meet him, like he's bullied for acting too young, or he's too mature for his age, or like it's simply he's just too tall. He's too short to ride a roller coaster, and he suddenly becomes an adult. It's like thematically what the movie's trying to impart on him about age and about wisdom and about, you know, adulthood versus childhood. Like it's not embedded in the character arc of this child, because like at the start he doesn't want anything. It's just, I think that might be narratively my big flaw with the movie. Like, I don't know what this kid wants, and I don't think he knows what he wants until the very end when he finally admits to himself what he actually wants.
But I think that's interesting to a certain extent as well. In terms of technical elements of the film, I think, like I said, I think the performances are all pretty bloody great.
Oh no, they're not, Brenton. No, come on. Like, let's talk about the best friend.
The best friend?
That is not good.
I was going to say he was fine.
What?
Like, come on.
You shit on child actors and you're giving this kid a pass?
For a child performance, he was okay.
Oh, fuck off. Are you serious? This kid, he's horseshit.
He's not given a whole lot to do in the film, and I think like the way it's executed, I think it's not bad. I think it's all right. He wasn't bothering me. He was not bothering me at all in the film. There's other child performances that bother me when their fucking little faces come on screen. I just want to get them off. It's like, fuck.
I guess you kind of forgive it a little bit because he's meant to act very childish, because it's meant to relate Tom Hanks of his old life. I guess like metaphorically you can kind of see what's going on there. But I don't know. Like, the kid's just like
to be honest though, a kid actor that is like contending with Tom Hanks as a scene partner for the majority of the film. I mean, true, does a bloody good job.
For a kid that's opposite Tom Hanks, that is a pretty tall order.
They are like as characters that are meant to be best friends. I bought the relationship. I was, you know, and I think it worked. There was one scene that he was a bit shit in, like, and I can't talk about it because of spoilers. And it was near the start, and once you were through that, it was like I was on board. I was all right.
Rightio. All right, fine. Do you want to talk about the main girl of the movie? Like, did you like her?
Yeah, I think she was great.
Do you think she looks a lot like an adult Millie Bobby Brown?
I see where you get that.
The second I saw her, yeah. I was just like, what's she doing in this movie? I'm like, is this a time travel film? Like, did adult Millie Bobby Brown? I thought it was like her mother. I had to look it up. I'm like, is this actually her mum? Because she looks identical to her.
Yeah, I thought she was excellent. I thought she was. I thought all the supporting performances were great. I think she obviously is the standout. And I'll talk about that more in spoilers, but I think she brought a kind of, again, like she was probably the most complicated character in the film.
Oh yeah, and for reasons we'll get into in the spoilers, which listeners, you can guess what happens. It's like, come on, it's like there's a girl and there's Tom Hanks in the movie. He becomes an adult. He's a kid. What do you think happens? And I think that's a main criticism of this movie as well. I think there's a little bit too male gaze in this movie.
In what sense?
It's like, I don't know. It's very like well, this is actually interesting because Tom Hanks is 13 in this movie, and so like he would just be starting puberty. So he now is a man. So I guess he would be paying attention to girls and that kind of stuff.
In what sense though? Like
he was like, especially when he starts like meeting the girl, he was like, I don't know, looking her up and down, and like I guess it gets innocent towards the end, but
even if it wasn't like it. Oh, I know. I think I know the moment you're talking about. Like, because there's a moment in it, kind of like, you know,
where it's extremely obvious. Like, yeah.
But at the same time, like I just thought as a character she was really fleshed out and kind of. I thought she was great. But like in terms of the male gaze thing, I think like it made sense. I don't think that was played for like a laugh or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought it was like a genuine moment of like this kid, like, you know.
Did you find it funny? Were you laughing a lot during this movie?
Moments, yeah. I did. I found myself laughing.
I think people should know it's not like an outright comedy. Like, I don't think you go to this movie to laugh.
There's moments of real fucking drama in this movie.
Yeah,
like moments
genuine.
that you're like, holy fuck, like that's the stakes, like, you know, go through the roof at a few points.
But tonally, I think it is pretty consistent.
Totally, yeah.
Have you seen the film Shazam, Brenton?
No.
Well, guys, we got to mention it because, like, you know, it's kind of a similar movie in that sense. You know, where a kid becomes an adult, obviously, but he gets superpowers rather than just like that. I think Shazam is better than this. I think it's more of a fun time. But I think this movie is better at addressing the theme of a child becoming an adult.
Yeah, there's a few other ones like that you can look at.
Yeah.
You can look at obviously 17 again. Suddenly 30, I think's one as well.
And it's great because in 17 again, it does the same themes that we've all seen before, like where Zac Efron has to kiss the mum or whatever it is.
Yeah, but at the same time, like the biggest thing I can give this film in terms of in this kind of category of films in this genre or subgenre, I think this is the best one I've seen.
I think it's definitely the deepest of them all.
Because you could say like something like Elf is like one of these films as well, you know.
Oh yeah, Elf's a great example of it.
Yeah, like someone that's, you know, and I think that's probably close second, to be honest. But
yeah.
I just think this film's like, I think it's thematically, I think it's strong in terms of what it's covering, how it covers it, and how it executes it. Again, it's not like the most like intensely edited film I've ever seen in the sense of like it's not like gonna wow you on a technical
Nor
point
is
of
the
view.
directing that extraordinary.
No,
like, it's
no,
fine.
not at all. It's fine, but the director seems to be more concerned. The focus is clearly on Tom, and kind of the getting those characters right was kind of the priority. You can tell, and I think that was the right call, rather than making flashy gimmicks or whatever. Not that gimmicks are bad, but you know.
So what are you rating it then?
Oh, I'm giving it a thumbs up. I think it's great. I think it's really worth your time.
Yeah, like it's I don't know. I think you really stumbled upon something like important there. I think because we've seen this before, and yes, it's from the 1988, so it's probably one of the first ones that did it. But I'm sure everyone's told this story before about, like, you know, children becoming adults. I don't know. Maybe I wanted something new from it, like. But then again, it's like one of the original ones, so like, I don't know. I think I wanted the movie to do a lot more with this premise, and I think what it was trying to say was a little bit obvious. I think that was my main gripe of the movie. I think it's too obvious. So I don't know if I can give it a thumbs up, Brenton.
That's fine if you don't give it a thumbs up. But I will combat it with saying, the last thing I'll say is, again, I think that this film does more than those other films do because it has the balls to do some things that those other films don't do.
Oh, actually, that is true.
That's my biggest thing. That's why I go,
That's a good point. Damn, it's like, I can't believe it. I'm losing to a rug. Oh, that is a really good point, actually. Because, like, okay, you know what? Okay, I wish the film went even further.
Okay,
you know
sure.
what? If yes, I hear you. If it is because it does go down that road, I wanted to go even further. I wanted to really see the repercussions of it. Like, you know, there are great ethical questions about a child being an adult you could do in a movie like this. And it kind of touches on them, but I think I wanted to see a full deep dive if it was.
Okay. So thumbs are down for you then.
I don't want to, but like.
That's cool, dude. I like it when we disagree. So I don't want you to.
Like when we have arguments, like we're throwing shit at each other, just like Brenton, stop breaking objects around my room. Like argument, just not my vase. Yeah, no, I'm happy to spoil this movie. Let's spoil everything. Spoilers, spoiling this movie. Yeah, Nathan,
let's talk about.
The premise.
Yeah,
we're talking about this fucking film, Brenton.
Sure.
Let's
go.
A child becomes an adult, and like the repercussions of this is huge. Like, because there's so many elements of it. I think ethically, what you and I were trying to talk about on non-spoilers that now we can talk about is like there are so many questions. There are so many loopholes you could poke into this movie. For starters, let's talk about the fact that this child uses the cover story that he was kidnapped, right? like he wakes up in his bed, he's bloody an adult. His mother like freaks the fuck out and chases him out of the house, and then he just lives this life for however long the movie lasts for, months one presumes, and the movie never follows up on it. Like the best friend is allowed to freely visit him. Like how is his best friend's mother not like aware that his best friend has vanished and like he's allowed to visit Tom Hanks?
Well, I think the friend, like, there's a few mentions from the friend, and I agree, it's a weak point, but the friend says, oh, my curfew's like home by 10, and I'm going to skip class tomorrow to come do this and make sure, you know. So it's kind of there, like technically it's there, but I agree. It's like, if a kid's, skipping school all the time or like, is maybe spotted. In saying that, it's pretty hard to spot someone in fucking New York City. But but you know what I mean? Like if someone's skipping school all the time,
it's just like no one really bats an eye. Like they say like, oh, is he your son? And like at the workplace, and he's just like, oh yeah, kinda. And then like the kid just keeps coming to work, and like no one's really questioning it. It's like the fact that like the mother lost her son. There should be police in this movie. Like the fact that it's been kidnapped. Like,
well, I was honestly going when that was introduced. I was going, wow, Tom Hanks is probably going to be like arrested at some point in this film.
Yeah,
or, like,
that's what I was thinking too.
Like because he calls his mom like because he misses her obviously and tries to talk to her, but
from his own fucking workplace.
So he acts the part. He acts the part of like the kidnapper and like says, yeah, your son's okay, like, but like, and like goes along with his story, and it's like, holy shit. And like I kind of like that mum character at the same time of like kind of like how in that scene she kind of fights for the
she
son.
overreacts though. Like I don't like it when she first sees him in the house and he's like very calmly trying to explain what's happening. Like if a stranger rocks him up into your home, yes, it's weird, but like she like grabs a knife and just starts slashing. It's like, lady, calm down, this is on you now, like.
Yeah, totally. I like that scene actually between her and the friend, like through the
window where
through the window. I thought that was a nice moment.
The walkie-talkie goes off. It was very sweet, but like, I don't know. I feel like you know what almost stilled the movie, Brenton? But it was for some reason, the only really mention of it that he's been kidnapped we get later on is that they put a missing poster on a carton of milk.
I think it's juice, isn't it? Like it's the juice.
What the fuck? What juice company would consent to a fucking like production line of a fucking missing child?
Hey man, that's a nice juice company. They're like
what the fuck? Could you imagine? Like, like the kid comes back home and he suddenly realizes he's famous because he's done all these fucking juice boxes. Like, is that a thing? No one puts a wanted thing on like a bloody milk carton, do they?
Oh, maybe in the States. I'm not sure, or around this time.
That's bullshit. And the fact that he makes that kidnap call from his workplace is ridiculous as well. It's like, could you imagine like the person sitting next to him in earshot? Like, because they're all sitting next to each other. There's no walls. Like, they would have heard what's happening. How is no one raising any eyebrows?
I couldn't tell you. Nathan. Nathan, what I can tell you is that I was very kind of... One of the most truthful moments in the film was when he first turns into an adult and the friend and him go into the city and he stays in the hotel, and his first night in the hotel, which we spend a good couple minutes on, of just Tom Hanks in the hotel listening to like the gunshots and shit from outside, as well as like so the person on the phone, like how he like, moves the like, the desk.
Yeah, he locks the door, then he fucking barricades it, and then he...
And just that moment where he's just like sitting on the bed and he just kind of starts to cry and you're like, holy fuck. This kid's just not built for this, you know what I mean? Like, yeah,
I know. It's like, geez, like, I know he's trying to save money because they have literally no money, but it's like, that's what I really love that scene. That's when the movie actually really started getting deep for me. I'm like, oh, you actually see, that's it, because you see Tom Hanks really as a child in that moment, but as the movie goes on, you don't really get reminded of his childhoodness outside the fact that he likes toys.
Oh, I think you do. I think like his whole relationship, like how his relationship starts with the girl is fucking great. Like,
yeah, do you want to talk about their relationship? Holy fuck, Brenton! Like, what is this movie?
Wow. Imagine if you were like, you thought you'd found, for lack of a better term, the one, and she's this amazing person. She's so like into you in like in terms of an intellectual sense. Like you guys get along so well. You have so many common interests. She kind of ignites like the child in you again, and she ignites like this fun in you.
Oh God, Brenton!
And you just like love this person so much, and you're like, wow, like I think I'm ready to like settle down and move on and make
neck
that
minute.
Big,
oh, hey, I'm a fucking child.
Next minute, I'm actually like 12 years old.
Jesus. Could you imagine you go on like a date with your girlfriend and then she's just like, so, I'm a kid. And you're like, shit. Like, oh, like, geez. Like, it's, you know what's, okay, let's go back to that premise of that, because he's a 13-year-old mentally who's become a 30-year-old. So when you were 13, Brenton, when you looked at 30-year-olds, other 30-year-olds, you wouldn't have found them attractive, right? Like, when I was 13, I would look at, like, beautiful 30-year-old women and I'm like, oh, you acknowledge they're beautiful, but you're not that attracted to them because they're so much older than you, right?
No, totally.
So why the fuck is he, a 13-year-old in a 30-year-old man's body, finding her attractive? Because he would think she's too old.
To be fair, at first he doesn't. Like, at first it's like he's been in, like, because we know that this film takes place over at least 6 weeks. Over at least 6 weeks.
Like, yeah. Because that fucking, like, most arbitrary reason of getting the old records out, which is like, Jesus, screenwriters got lazy.
So Nathan, I think, like, because at first he doesn't. She just kind of, she turns up to his house and, you know, and she's expecting
After a great
to,
limo ride.
Yeah, she's expecting
What a little
things
shit
to,
as
like,
well in the limo, fucking touching all the buttons. It's like, come on. Like, he's not that young. He's 13. It's like, come on.
Yeah, so she comes up and she walks in and just sees this space. And it's a pretty cool space. As a kid, you're like, fuck, that'd be fun to have like a trampoline in your New York apartment. And like he's got his bunk bed. He's got like the inflatable dinosaur, all these like balls and shit everywhere. There's just fucking toys everywhere, and they jump on the trampoline, and she has a good old time. And then like he walks out of like his bathroom or whatever, and he's like full like pajamas, and she's like on the bottom bunk, like in some fucking sports jersey, and she's like, "Let's get it on," and then he just jumps in that top bunk. And she's like, wow, what a gentleman.
Wow, what a good... She doesn't for once question that the fact he has like a bunk bed. She's like, okay, I'm ready for some bunk bed sex then. And then it just doesn't happen. Like, could you imagine if you went back to a girl's house and like she just had that bedroom? I'd be like, ooh. I'd be like, something's not right. Like, I mean, I'm sure there are adults who love toys, but I'm like, this is like... I'm like, nah. This is no good. I fucking love that line when they're standing outside the apartment and he's like, oh, do you mean like a sleepover? And she's like, yeah. And then she's like, oh, well, I get to be on top.
Yeah, I dibs. Only if I get to be on top. And then he just like gives this goofy grin and like goes in the apartment. And she's
goodness. Oh, fuck? Tom Hanks's goofy grin. Can we talk about that? Because like the scene I was alluding to before with the male gaze was that he fucking like bumps into the boss at one point. And the papers drop, and he like looks at her, and like her top top is undone a little bit, so he sees her bra, and he gives the most like paraplegic look I think I've ever seen in a film.
He like shuts down. It's like.
Has he never seen boobs before? I mean, maybe not, but it's like, come on.
He probably hasn't. Yeah, no, but like...
Yeah, but you see people, in sports bras, that kind of shit. It was the 80s. It's like, he would have seen something in a movie. It's like, he looks at her, gives the most confounded look, as though he's like just discovered like, a pot of gold or something like that. Like, ooh. It's so stupid.
Yeah, I got nothing really to add to that. It was like, this moment of like, he's just, like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
And I'm like, but here's the thing. With that relationship, like the whole movie, I was not shipping it. I'm like, this is ethically no. It's like, whenever like they were like being cutie together, I'm like, I kept on screaming, you are a fucking child. It's like, this is not happening. Like, what are you doing?
Okay, so Nathan, I've got something to confess. So this was the thing that I was like toing and froing for the entire film.
Oh, really? No, you did not ship this, Brenton.
I was like, well, this character seems to be maturing and whatnot. He's like a man. He is a man. Like in this film.
He's a man, all right.
He's a man, and so like at the same time, you're like this could work out. Like in long term, if he like. He could. He
didn't have an education. Like,
there's some serious psychological like consequences to this whole thing, but on his part. But it's working out, and you're like, wow, like look at this. Look at like how he's like,
Does she move in with him? Like, because it's only a couple of months. Like, that's pretty fucking quick. Like. Or did she just sleep out?
I think she wants to, or like she's alluding to the fact that she wants.
She usually moves fast, doesn't she?
But I just kind of really enjoyed this relationship, and yet at the same moment, like you just go in the back of your head, this kid's like 13, and you're like, this is ethically wrong, and like, but at the same time, you're like, I hope this kid kind of stays here and makes this life and like moves forward, and then you're like, but then no, like you see at the same time, you're like, this kid does need to go home because he needs his childhoods and he needs to.
I fucking love that montage where he creepily watches the school photo and that shit. It's just like,
yeah, that's weird.
No, it's just weird. Like, why is that random man watching us having a school photo? It's like, ugh. Like, I do love that the movie doesn't show us them having sex, because I'm like, ugh, it's like...
No, but we get that scene where he touches her breast, and
Jesus.
like the bra, like, shoulder, like, falls off.
Oh my God.
Like, and she's like,
what?
She's like, you want the lights on, dude? He's like, yeah.
It's just like, it's so stupid. I love it though. I love it so much. I love the little smooch as well. It's like, it's just, I can't believe they have sex as well. It's like, you're a 13-year-old child. It's like, no wonder he would also act the way that you do when you lose your virginity. He would have fallen in love with the sex. He would have like how the fuck is there no sign of him being 13? In that moment especially, he would have just been like, okay, let's do this like 500 more times. You know what I mean?
Well, then no, because like physically you might not be up to it, Nathan.
No, he probably wouldn't be. Like, geez,
he's in a man's body after all. But Nathan, I kind of like. yeah, I just enjoyed that relationship, and I enjoyed kind of like that the film gave us that, and we saw a child trying to have a serious, committed relationship with someone.
Oh my goodness. I love that, yeah. And I love how the film drives that to the ground when he finally confesses that he's a child, and she's like, oh, I was 13 once too. It's like, come on. It's like, you're being a little bit obvious here. Like,
she's like, I'm a little girl like, there's a little girl trapped in here as well, you dick. And it's like, I mean, like,
yeah.
and you can see,
It's like, really?
You can kind of see where it's coming from and whatnot. But
oh, did that scene remind you of Harry Potter?
in what
Where
sense?
he's like, where he's like, I'm a child, Susan, and she's like, you're a what? And he's like, a child. Like the you're a wizard thing.
Yeah, well, I didn't even think of that, but sure.
I was just waiting for it to escalate. He's like, I'm a fucking child. And she's like, I'll fucking put that somewhere. Like, they just spew Manchester accents.
I love in that scene when there's the moment where she storms away from him and he's like, no, Susan, I'm literally a child. Like, that just made me laugh. Like, it was great. But Nathan, there's something I wanted to say in the initial review was that there's moments of genuine magic in this film, and
yes,
there's one that's genuinely just a magical moment, and it's the most famous scene in this film.
Yeah,
like,
it's the reason everyone knows Big today. It's like, which we probably didn't have to mention it on spoilers, but everyone knows it. It's like
the piano scene. My gosh.
And you know what? I was surprised it lived up to the hype.
It did. It
It
really
genuinely did. It's a genuine highlight of the movie.
And it's like, but it's the build up to it as well, because we established
that's what you need.
We established the head of the CEO
who's
of
great.
the toy company. He's great, yeah. And we see that he has kind of like this little moment of respect for like this guy's like, well, I like your the hustle or whatever, and then like Tom Hanks runs off to like keep working, and then the next scene he runs into him in the toy shop, and Tom's playing with the fucking toys, which is just hilarious. And then he's like,
could
what are
you
you
imagine?
doing? And it's kind of like he sees something like in this guy, like obviously that helps his
he
business.
sees the
in
inner
sense of, like,
child.
yeah, he sees the literal child. But then on top of that, it's like he admires like a man that would like, you know, takes his craft like seriously in the sense of like he goes and tries the toys and shit. But then it grows to that of like the child unlocks the child and like this adult guy, and they have this moment of it's this beautiful like scene. It's this like long take of them literally doing Heart and Soul on the piano. And then, like, you know, like on this giant piano in this toy store with like all these people watching, and it's just a beautiful moment, and
it's amazing, isn't it?
It just lives up to it. There's a lot going on between those two
It
characters.
goes for a while as well.
Yeah,
like you hear the whole song.
It's great.
And it's really jolly. You just like. And you just wanted, I wanted to do it now. I want to find a giant piano and bloody like dance on it. Like
I wanted to like clap at the end of it, like, you know, and be a part of it. You know what I mean? Of,
yeah.
Like everyone there's like having a good time, and it's just a special moment. And
I feel like though, like I feel like the shop workers would fucking hate that piano though. It's like it's lovely in that movie. But imagine you're doing like an 8-hour shift and like fucking kids are running all over the piano.
Have you been somewhere where there's been those pianos, or like there's been like musical things that kids can? Oh, dude, I've like
imagine working there. Gotta be so horseshit.
Like, but it is like that. It's like this jumble of notes with like kids just like running all over the shit and like you know, trying to
like that's
do
perfectly
everything.
choreographed in the movie. But like, could you imagine like the scene cuts to like a disgruntled like store worker and like finally someone knows how to play this thing like after like hours they're like, oh my god, like this is amazing.
Nathan, you said you didn't find this film believable, and
oh yes, and there's a good reason why, and I think I know what you know.
Can we just address the fact that there's a fucking like arcade machine that can like actually like grant you wishes? Like, holy shit.
Okay, what the fuck? Okay, so he gets his fucking wish of being big, which could have gone in any direction, by the way. Like he could have been obese, he could have just continued growing, like he could have had a part of him be big, it could like this whole thing that happened.
He could have got
anyway,
a big ego, who knows? Like, you know,
yeah.
like,
And they try and find this wish. The best friend knows about the vending machine as well. And like they finally fucking find it. And then obviously he turns back to normal then and all that kind of shit. But like no one is like, fuck, we have like a wish granting vending machine that we found and we're just gonna leave it here now. You know what I mean?
Totally. Like it just has to be unplugged. You put your coin in and it grants you your fucking wish. Like, holy shit. Like,
could you imagine? It's like, and at the end of it, it's like how is this thing like I can't believe it. Like when he also says like, I wish to be a kid again. Why does he say I wish to be a kid again? And also maybe for a few $1 million and also maybe, you know, like success and all that. Like, you know, he's going to get a list with him by the end of the 6 weeks.
Man.
Even the chick, even like the girlfriend was like, oh, Yeah, she doesn't even bat an eye that there's a wishing vending machine.
I know. It's like, well, at the end, like, oh, she does bat an eyelid. She's like, at the end, she's like, holy fuck, like, because imagine, again, like, from her perspective, I think it's performed really well in the sense of, like,
Oh my goodness.
oh, fuck, there's, like, no one for me if, like, you know, I went for, like, the 13-year-old, you know what
I will
mean?
die
Like-
alone. I do love that moment where she genuinely considers, like still seeing him. She's like, oh, and then she's like, oh no, he is a child. It's like, oh, maybe in 10 years. It's like, maybe not.
I like that moment, too, where, like, he's, like, kind of childhood, like, innocence comes out, and he's like, yeah, maybe you could come back and be a little girl as well then, and then we'll, like, grow up and, like,
She's
you
like,
know,
it's not how it works.
She's like, bro, like, nah.
Nah, it's like,
no
fuck
one's worth
that.
that. Yeah.
She's like, I enjoy alcohol. It's that'd be good. That would be a good sequel though, like small, and it's like her going like to be a child to like hang out with him. That would have been an interesting direction.
Nathan, okay, now we're in spoilers. This I really want to talk about this as well. Like, this brings up the question. It's like, what do you think? Like, and I don't know. We don't need a sequel to this film, obviously, but
No,
what do you think happens to these characters? Like in 10 years.
I think there's some serious trauma. I think for all involved, like because we see the kid go back into the house and the mum's very happy to see her son again, but there would be like police interrogations going, okay, you were fucking kidnapped. What the hell went on? He would tell the story. They would think he's insane. The best he's missing from his workplace. He just walks out. So like,
Yep.
there'd be like there'd be a search for this guy who just came out of nowhere. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
I think a shit show happens after this movie that we just don't see.
Say that doesn't happen, and this kid grows up.
So in keeping with the film's
What do
universe,
you think happens? Like, do you think that he ever sees that woman again, Susan? Or
I don't think so. I don't want him to.
And why is that?
Because he's a fucking child. It's not like...
But do you think he like hits 20 and then he like marries like this 40, 50-year-old woman?
Oh, you think he suddenly has a thing for MILFs by the end of it?
No. I mean, like, he literally finds Susan and like they get together again.
No,
don't
Renton,
I
don't.
I don't think so
Do you
either.
really believe it?
No, I don't think so either. But it got me thinking. I was thinking towards the end of this film when he turned back into the kid, I was like, what the fuck happens now? You know what I mean? Like, this
Yeah.
is some hardcore shit.
That's
And-
again, the film could have gone deeper in that. It could have been so much more interesting if we saw that shit. But tonally, it would have been so inconsistent. Like,
yeah, totally. Like, could you imagine if there was like one of those like credits rolling things of like, and it tells
Oh my
you
God,
what
the
happened to
post-credit
all the
scene.
characters? Like, no, like just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like the
Like during
titles
the
come up
credits.
of like, you know, it's like this guy ended up doing this, and this guy married this person, and this.
Oh
guy.
yeah, when it's like based on a true story, it's like yeah.
It's like.
It's like all those teen movies, like where they have like Billy ended up being the CEO of that. It's like that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
totally, yeah.
It's just really traumatic. It's like Tom Hanks was locked up in an asylum. Like,
Totally.
the mother committed suicide shortly after. It's like geez.
It could be. Nathan, what stills this movie?
Okay, so there's only one thing that stills this movie. It's them dancing on the piano, Brenton. Like, it's,
Nathan, for those listeners that don't know what stills this movie and what that statement involves, could you fill
so
them
like
in?
during the movie, Brenton and I we screenshot a frame from the movie that we think is just a great still. I think we just look at it and we mostly laugh at it, go, what a fucking stupid frame this director decided to do in the movie. But a lot of the time it's also a beautiful vista. So we think it's a great piece of still art, Brendan. You could bloody put it in a gallery. And this week on Stills, we got them bloody dancing on the piano, and it's amazing, and they're so jolly. What I'm very surprised about is we get this one shot for a while, like it's a long take.
It's an extended kind of moment, and I always think that takes like great discipline to do that, and it was a perfect moment to do it in the film, and it's such a it's literally a magical moment, you know, in terms
really
of
is,
cinema,
yeah.
and it's worth watching the film just to like watch that sequence play out and get the build up for it and understand why that moment is so magical and why it's so revered nowadays. Yeah.
So no, I'm a bloody fan of this still, Brenton. I'll hang it on the wall. I tell you what, it's going
Ooh,
up there.
very good, very
Ooh.
good.
But how did they make this, mate?
How did they make this making movie magic? Yeah, Nathan.
Yes.
Do you know that fucking Tom Hanks was nominated for an Oscar for his performance in Big?
Yeah, it's not Oscar worthy, is it? Like,
It's pretty fucking good. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm not gonna say no to an Oscar nomination for Tom Hanks for this. Like, but I get what you're saying. It's not in our traditional. Well, not even in.
I mean, he also got
traditional-
nominated
in
for
our-
Captain Phillips as well. Like,
In our. No, he didn't.
oh, he didn't.
No,
Oh.
he didn't. He probably
Was it
should've.
Post I'm thinking of?
No. He's
Oh.
been nominated since fucking Saving Private
For a
Ryan, I
while.
want to say, or Castaway, I think was the
Oh,
last
yeah,
one.
Castaway he might have gotten it. Yeah.
Yeah. Castaway, I think it was then. Yeah. No, so yeah, but he got his, it would have been his first Oscar nomination for this film, and, I'd say deservedly so. Like, again, like, in our modern sense of what an Oscar nomination is, and, like, for what kind of performance that is, it doesn't really fit the bill. So if this movie came out today, he would not have been nominated
he would never
for
be
Best
nominated.
Actor. But, I'm kind of glad he did, because I think he does a phenomenal job in this film. But I just thought that was interesting. Yeah.
I don't know who won that year. What is this, 1988? So it would have been 1989 Oscars. Like, I wonder who beat him.
I'm sure I could look it up, Nathan.
Are we segueing back into Brenton looking up things?
Nathan, I'm looking up the 1989 Oscars now.
This is a segment where Brenton goes on the internet and instead of having great knowledge, he just looks up the answer. While he's doing that, there was some casting choices for this movie I found quite interesting. If it wasn't going to be Tom Hanks, other actors that were considered for the role was Robin Williams.
Wow, really?
Yeah, so I think he would have been amazing. I think it would have been extraordinary. But also, Harrison Ford turned it down.
Wow.
Could you imagine Harrison Ford doing this?
I mean, I would have loved to have seen it, but, like, no wonder he fucking turned it down. You know what I mean? Like, Harrison Ford.
It wouldn't have worked with Harrison Ford. Could you imagine Harrison Ford pretending to be a child? Like,
good lord. That's actually crazy. That's nuts.
Yeah, it's bonkers, isn't it?
Nathan, I've just looked it up.
Okay.
Going back to, so Best Actor, the nominees were, and I'll finish with the winner. Max von Sydow was nominated for Pell the Conqueror. Edward James Olmos was nominated for Stand and Deliver.
Okay.
Gene Hackman was nominated for Mississippi Burning.
Okay.
Tom Hanks was nominated for Big, and the winner of that year was Dustin Hoffman.
Oh, for Rain Man?
Yes.
Ah! Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Good on you, Dusty.
Totally.
Yeah.
Do you know who won Best Supporting Actor that year?
Or who? Was it the best friend?
No. I just think you're going to enjoy it because of last week's episode.
Oh my god, is it Willem Dafoe?
Kevin Kline won Best Supporting Actor in 1989.
Did he?
He did.
Academy Award winning star of Wild Wild West. Fuck yes. I'm so happy, Brenton. And he should have gotten the second Oscar for Wild Wild West.
Hey, mate. Also, our good mate Alec Guinness was nominated for Best Supporting Actor as well that year for Little Dorrit. So there you go.
Oh, Little Dorrit. There you go. Very good. Oh, I still think fondly of Wild Wild West. It's only been a week, but I still think fondly of it, Brenton. You know what I love, Brenton? I was looking up facts for this movie, and I'm just going to quote this one, which is because just like out of context, even with context, it's quite insane. The name of the child actress playing Josh's baby sister Rachel is not in the credits and remains unknown. Like for some reason, no one knows where this fucking baby came from or where it went.
Even like on the like production schedule, they're looking through it and they're like, yeah, we fucking didn't even put her on it. Like, where did this baby come from and whose is it and where is they now? Fucking hell.
Who took the baby? It's just like this really dark story about the film that like no one knows.
Nathan, Penny Marshall, who directed this film, became the first female director to ever direct a movie that grossed more than $100 million at the box office with this movie.
Oh, congrats. That's good on her, you know.
Yeah.
Well done. And you know, she's been followed by a long line of great female directors after that.
Totally.
So, good on her. Well done.
Hey, Nathan, some would say that's a big deal.
Jeez, get the fuck out of my house, Brenton. Just like
sorry.
SWAT team, grab him, kick him out. Take your fucking Band-Aid pole with you, buddy.
Mate, they only listen to me, so just what's the next fact?
All right. Yeah. One thing I love about this movie, so in the movie, Josh has a scene where he comes up with the idea of robots that transform into insects. And it's like, and I love that scene as well, because all the businessmen are like, oh, he's actually a great idea. And they're like nodding and like shaking hands and like that kind of shit. It's like, this is the best fucking thing ever. It's like, really? No one's thought of this before? and it's a stupid scene. Oh, because we never even talked about the fact that this man has a fucking career, which is outlandish. Like,
oh, I love it. I love it so much. Yep. But continue.
It's the most ridiculous thing in this entire fucking movie. The fact that he's like vice president of a toy company. Anyway, so like he comes up with this idea of like fucking insects, and then 3 years after this movie, the Transformers lines. The Transformers toy line introduced the Insecticons, which is the idea that he had.
Hey man. Big started a lot of things.
Wait, is the company meant to be Hasbro, but like they just didn't get the rights? Because I feel like it could have been.
Maybe.
Like they wanted to do Hasbro and say Hasbro, but Hasbro said no because they're like, fuck no, we're having this child work for us. Because what is it? Because he plays with like an Empire State Building that transforms into a robot?
Yeah, dude.
Would you have bought that as a kid?
No, fuck no. Why the fuck would you want... Why would you want to, like he says, why would you want a building that transforms into a robot?
It's
you
so
want something
stupid.
fucking cool.
Oh.
Nathan, do you know that Tom Hanks improvised the scene where he eats the baby corn as if it were a normal sized corn on the cob?
This is what, because you know how like when people get nominated for Oscars, they go on these huge campaigns and like they talk about the process of the method and all that kind of shit. Can you imagine just Tom Hanks sitting around like a round table being like, yeah, fucking A, corn, eh? Like, Jesus. I love this. When Tom Hanks was preparing for the role, so the kid version of him was played by David Moscow. He just hung out with him like with toys, and they just played with toys together, so he could get an idea of how the kid would have acted.
That's cool.
That's awesome. It's like, yeah, I can imagine you get onto set and you just see Tom Hanks like playing with this like toy set, and you're like, okay, Tom, you got to act now. He's like, but I'm already in character. Like,
acting? What acting? As it's a surprise to no one, the computer game that Josh plays during this film, Cavern of the Evil Wizard, was not a real computer game. It was created for the film. Fucking no video games work like that, mate. Like,
jeez,
what the fuck?
what a shit video games. Well, I know it's the 80s, but like, God, it's like I was thinking that video game was going to come back into play later on because like he keeps on mentioning it, and it's like also that is the stupidest idea, like a fucking like comic book with like a computer in it. It's like, what are you doing, Tom Hanks? Like, come on. Well, hey, let's look at this film's poster, and good lord, what a fucking poster. This is the creepiest poster we have ever reviewed, Brenton.
Have you ever had a really big secret?
And it's the poster is just the closest zoom up of Tom Hanks's face, and he's given the most like creepy look into the lens of the camera than you could possibly imagine. Jeez,
Nathan,
what is happening?
What do you think he's like thinking in this photo?
I don't know. I think he's thinking he's going to attack me. Like,
I think he's thinking, hello there.
It is a little bit Obi-Wan, isn't it? And it's like,
or even better, hello, father.
He's bloody doing a David Tennant from Goblet of Fire. What is that creepy? Because like he looks as though he's trying to smile, but like he looks as though he's really angry and he's trying to smile.
I don't know, like
it's creepy.
I can't even describe it. It's just like it's like a grimace. It's like a grimace kind of grin. It's like,
could you imagine if that poster came out today? It would instantly be a meme. You know what I mean? Like if a movie did that. Like like in a heartbeat. If any movie did that with their poster.
Totally.
It'd be fucking everywhere, Brendan. Oh, but what would you do?
But again, like, I don't know what a better poster for this film is. Like,
if that's the fucking best poster we can do.
Like, and I don't think it needs to be a great big poster. Or big, again, fucking hell. No, but I think it's fine, but like...
No, it's not. It's really not, Brendan. This is not a good poster.
It's fine.
No, like what it should be. Okay, we should make an effort. Like, let's improve it. What I think it should be is literally just like Tom, like, okay, you know they have that testing room where the child are all playing with the toys and they're looking through the glass window? It should just be all the children playing with the toys behind this glass and then just Tom Hanks in the middle of it. But keep the tagline, have you ever had a really big secret?
Oh man, people will think it's a very different film if you put that tagline along with Tom Hanks playing with small children.
God, so title talk, like, what a stupid title, Big. It's so fucking stupid. Oh, Big.
But also like even like when we're at that bloody fairground and it's like the sign says you have to be this big to ride the ride. It's like, what sign? It's always like you have to be this tall.
It always just says like 160 centimeters or something like that.
No, but it's always like you must be this tall, and then like use of the word tall in a sense that it's not big.
Would you have called this movie then Tall instead of Big? And it's just about like some oversized Tom Hanks.
I don't know, dude. I don't even know what you call this film.
Like Big wasn't in Big. Well, I mean, he did get big, so I guess it kind of matches the film. But no, I wouldn't call it Big. I'd call it. It's funny. Most people, like I said at the start, just call it Tom Hanks is Big. I think it should just be literally called that. Tom Hanks is
Tom
big.
Hanks is big. Yeah. I can get amongst that.
Oh, it's great.
Well, Nathan, should we pass the power? Power to the people. Let's pass it to the people. The power.
Well, Brenton, despite the fact I gave it a thumbs down, critical consensus, the jury's out because critics gave it 97% on Rotten Tomatoes and the audience gave it 82%. So there's love all around, Brenton.
Hey, well, you know what? Jay Boyer from Orlando Sentinel says the follow-through was consistent and clever.
I don't think clever is the correct... Oh, there are moments of clever. But I don't think the setup is... I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely not plausible, is it?
No, but hey, I kind of like it as a fantasy kind of, trope.
Do you wish the film got sillier? Like, in the sense that, like...
Oh, I don't at all. I think it...
he ends up running this company and then, like, he ends up being, like, the successful adult and, like, you know what I mean? Like, he suddenly has, like, a child or something like that. Oh, imagine if he had a kid. Oh,
Holy shit,
and
Nathan.
imagine if
that's-
he knocked her up and then he became a child again and like, oh, could you imagine?
Shit.
That would have been
Dude,
interesting.
That's awful.
That's the shit I wanted from this movie, Renton. Like some like really big dilemma. You know what I mean?
Nathan, then it would have had to have been a horror movie.
This is great. This is what the sequel should be. It's revealed that he knocked her up, and like as he's grown up, he's got a kid the same age as him. But it's like a hilarious comedy about like reconnecting with your father who's the same fucking age.
Ooh. Nathan, Lexi8H says, gives it 1.5 stars and says, on the back of your comment just then, I found this movie's concept creepy. It made me uncomfortable watching it.
And she's not wrong. Like, do you think that like the premise itself, like the way it's executed, would turn a lot of people off this movie?
No, I think this movie would get a good time.
I mean, obviously, it made it made heaps of money back in the day, so obviously audiences did get around it. Including Ben T, who gave it 3.5 stars and said, great movie with terrible implications and a creepy relationship.
Again, I didn't find it that creepy, dude. Like, and that's weird. Like, that's fucking weird. That
I mean, the relationship is creepy. Like, come on. Like,
I don't know, dude.
like, fucking hell,
it is.
Brenton.
I know, understand it's morally wrong, and how this film ends is how it should happen. The fact that they like have sexual intercourse, and you know, there's a lot of questions raised. But at the same moment, you know, I still kind of found myself like surprisingly kind of buying it and, you know, getting amongst it.
Well, William F. Brenton, he gave it 5 stars and he said Tom Hanks was at his best in the 80s. Did you think it's his best performance?
I know it's not his best performance, but I think the Tom Hanks like renaissance was in the 1990s. Like that's when you got Forrest Gump, you got Philadelphia, you got Saving Private Ryan, you got Castaway, you know, you got
Toy Story. It's like he had a
Toy
good run
Story.
in the 90s, didn't
Fucking hell, like 90s was Tom Hanks, man.
Oh.
Like crazy.
Yeah, it's like, and it's great. It's good. He's kind of going through a little bit one now as well. Like, you know, are you looking forward to his Mr. Rogers movie?
Yeah, totally. I'll go see it. I can't wait.
It'll be bloody delightful, Brenton.
Bloody delightful, such as Batboy, who says he just could have wished he was taller.
I mean, you're not wrong. It is a little bit weird that he says those words, isn't it?
Oh man, like again,
Gorgon Hansen wrote on Facebook, wrote on YouTube. Why does his underwear fit?
I
That's a good
know
question,
it makes like nothing else fits, and then like suddenly like
yeah, because you see him try to put on his pants as well.
they must be stretchy.
Oh my goodness, yeah, and I love it when he looks down his underwear as well. It's like, jeez, it's like it'd be great if she's about to have sex with him, and then like he still has the tidy whities.
Christian Rogers says, I like how he gets a paycheck of $178 and immediately is able to afford probably the biggest apartment in New York. Nathan, that's not true because he only gets the apartment when he gets the promotion to vice president or whatever the fuck.
That's very true. Also,
But
how
it's
quickly does he get an apartment?
Oh, I
Like-
know, right?
Like if it only happens for a couple of weeks, the fact that he like gets all the paperwork done, he moves in, like you know what I mean?
He puts that bond down, you know, he starts paying the rent, you know, crazy.
Oh yeah,
Crazy.
he goes missing, so he doesn't have to pay off his mortgage. Like,
Totally.
oh my goodness.
Crazy.
Daniel Williamson wrote, "Pretty dangerous having that trampoline by those windows."
Oh, jeez, that's morbid.
He
Not
brings her
wrong,
back to the apartment, like she thinks they're about to have sex, and like he says to her, "Jump," and she's like, "Okay, I guess I'll jump," and then she like smashes through some glass.
Fuck, that's morbid. That's big.
Oh.
Sam commented and says, damn, I remember watching this on HBO when I was 6 years old. Now I'm 20 and my life sucks."
Oh yeah, if you ever want a nostalgia trip, this is it, isn't it, Brenton?
Definitely, for sure. If you're 20 and your life sucks, watch Big.
Oh,
Well,
watch Big. Yeah, if you want to be a child again, remember.
Nathan, that was Big. Tom Hanks is big. That was what that was. And I had a good time.
That was very big, wasn't it, Brenton? What a big episode.
Nathan, it's been an absolute pleasure talking about this film with you, my friend. Guys, if you want to talk about films with us as well, you can talk to us on Twitter, via email. You can comment on our YouTube videos, or just find us on the podcast app, or SoundCloud, or, like we said, YouTube.
You just go everywhere. Type in that classic movie banter.
Yeah, man. Just we're taking over the world. Literally. So, you know, get amongst it, guys.
Yeah, get around it. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us, and please come back next week for even more fun reviews. But Brenton, oh no, I'm getting smaller. My clothes, they're getting bigger on me. I think I'm getting younger. Help me.
Nathan, no, I'd help you, but I'm just so big.
No, Brenton, I'm small.